Hey everyone and welcome to my 2023 Arnold Classic predictions. Now I'm making this video pretty late, but I wanted to make sure that I get as many updates as possible before making my final judgment. Before I start this list off, I wanted to say that I think all these guys are great competitors and that even being able to compete at a show like this is impressive. But without further ado, coming up in that 10th place spot, I have your former 212 Olympia champion Kamal Agagni. I feel like Kamal is finally, sadly starting to show his age a little bit, with his limbs starting to thin out a bit, which could also make his waist look a little wider in comparison. And honestly, I just don't think that he can beat these guys in terms of size, and I don't think that his conditioning is going to carry him over that. So for those reasons, I have him in 10th place, but a lot of respect for this guy. I mean, he's like, what, 50, 51 years old and still competing and looking really good and placing at the top of the 212s. So yeah, a lot of respect for him, but 10th place for Kamal. In 9th place, I have Patrick Moore. Patrick has done really well at the Olympia before. That one year he really nailed it, but he tends to be a little inconsistent with nailing his conditioning. We haven't seen him in a while, and he hasn't really posted any leg updates, which is a bit concerning to me, especially considering that he had that leg injury last year. But all in all, Patrick is a really aesthetic competitor who probably just lacks a little bit too much size to beat these other guys. But again, I am a little concerned about, like I said, the legs and the conditioning. So, I mean, we'll see, I guess. But yeah, 9th place for Patrick. In 8th place, I predict Justin Rodriguez. Justin is a big guy, but I think he's been competing too much for too long, like a year or a year and a half just of non-stop dieting and competing now, which I think prevents him from showing his best possible version. However, if he does bring a similar version to that 2022 Arnold Classic look, then he could probably even get into like that top 4, top 5 conversation. But based on his previous appearances and the fact that he has been competing so long, I do think that he's going to slip a little bit and place in 8th. In 7th place, I have Akeem Williams. Akeem has been looking great these last couple updates he posted. He looks more conditioned and more dry than he usually does. So I think we're going to see an improved version of him, which is why I have him beating Justin Rodriguez, even though Justin placed ahead of him at the Olympia. Now if Akeem comes in looking like he did at the 2020 Olympia, where he placed 6th, maybe even a little tighter in the lower back and glute area, then he could even, place higher than 7th at this show. But for now, this is where I have him placed. In 6th place, I have the guy who was probably the hardest to predict in this show, to be honest. Your current 212 Olympia champion, Sean Clarida. He could place just about anywhere in this lineup. I don't think he's big enough to beat Nick, but who knows. Personally, I think he's going to place 6th though, because he's going to be outsized by the next couple of guys, and even though he's going to bring great conditioning, I think they are going to as well, and he's not going to be able to overcome that. And even though he did beat taller guys before, I think that the competition of this show is definitely a lot more stacked. And I mean, placing 6th at this open Arnold Classic, they don't have a 212 anymore, but that's definitely a great achievement for a guy who weighs like 180 pounds tops. So definitely a great achievement for him, and 6th place is very realistic in my opinion. In 5th place, I have the conqueror and 2-time former Arnold Classic champion William Bonac. Bonac is a guy who could probably even win this show if he came in, really tight, really well peaked, similar to how he looked in 2017. But I do kind of think that maybe age is starting to get to him a little bit as well. His last couple showings definitely make me think that his limbs are not quite as big and full as they used to be, and his waist isn't as tight. But like I said, he could come in and win this, but based on how he's previously looked these last couple of shows, even though he's improved from that 2021 Olympia, I believe it was, I still don't really see him cracking into that top 4, but 5th place is still a great placing at a show like this. In 4th place, and I know I might catch a lot of hate for this, but I have your 2022 Arnold UK champion Andrew Jack. Andrew has only turned pro a year or two ago and already looks crazy. I mean, this guy could definitely win the Olympia in the future, but I don't think that he's quite there yet. And the reason why I still have him placed ahead of Bonac is that he placed ahead of him at the Olympia, and I think they're both going to improve, since obviously Andrew has a new coach now and could come in worse. We don't know how he's going to look, but I do think that they're going to make improvements and come in more conditioned, work a little bit on some of his posing too, and I think he's going to show his all-time best version, but I can't confidently have him beat these next 3 guys just yet. Sorry to interrupt this video, but I wanted to remind you guys that only about 2% of my viewers are subscribed, so if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to do so to enable me to make more and better videos in the future. Thanks. In third place, I have your two-time Olympia champion, Big Ramy. Ramy kind of dropped the ball at the Olympia, presenting a lot of flaws in his physique that were present before but have gotten even worse now. With his lats atrophying and his triceps not being as full as they used to be, and those holes in his quads, and his posing kind of seemed like he wasn't that sure of himself. But I do think they're going to improve on a lot of that stuff. I don't really see how they can fix his lats and triceps, especially in this amount of time with the stem cell treatment that he's received. Chad Nichols' coach has said that they improved those issues a little bit, but I guess we'll see. And they also said that the holes in his quads apparently completely disappeared, which is definitely something to keep an eye on this weekend when they do step on stage. And like I said, I do think we're going to see an improved version of Ramy with better conditioning, tighter waist, and better posing, but I do think that these next two guys are still going to beat him. Which brings me to my second place finisher, being Samson Dauda. I think we're going to see the best Samson we've ever seen. From the last couple of updates, it really looks like they're pushing the conditioning and dryness hard for this prep. And I really do believe that in this show we're going to see like the new kind of standard for modern day bodybuilding in Samson. I mean, what can you really improve? He's aesthetic. He's like 290 pounds on stage. He's going to come in really conditioned. He's a great poser, and you could certainly make the case for him even winning this show. He has obviously placed behind Ramy at the Olympia, but a lot of people, including myself, do think that maybe he could have even beat him there, and I think that he's going to make more improvements than Ramy, so that kind of puts him ahead of him. But I do think that there's one guy in this show who's too much for Samson to overcome just yet, being your 2021 Arnold Classic champion, Nick Walker. Nick looks like he's gonna bring his all-time best to this show as well, with a tighter waist and better conditioning than we've ever seen before, while still holding on to his signature size. I also believe that he's just too much for Samson to handle in the back poses, and that his arms are just so freakishly peaky and big that's going to be enough for him to stay ahead of Samson in this show and walk into this Arnold Classic and win his second title. But no matter what happens, I'm sure this is going to be a great competitive show. And yeah, that basically wraps it up. So those were my 2023 Arnold Classic predictions. Make sure to let me know your predictions in the comments below, and like and subscribe if you want to see more. But that's about it. Bye, have a great day.